I think that shanty towns are a crime against humanity. Shanty towns were put there as a form of modern day slavery. So the oligarchs who want cheap labor, they allow the shanty towns to exist because, especially in this case, the Haitians would be willing to live in them, and they don't have expensive rent or mortgage or light bill and all these other bills that we have, and so you can pay them less. You can't pay a Bahamian what you would pay them because the Bahamian has his mortgage or his rent or his light bill and all these other fees that he has to pay. And so that's why they allow the shanty towns to flourish. You understand? And so that's a crime against humanity. So now you have children growing up in these situations where they don't have...
Welcome to Face, where silence is not an option and questions have no filters. Powered by NuVision Media, this is the space where the truth is tested, promises are pressed, and leadership is laid bare. In a nation craving real answers, we're here not just to talk, but to challenge, to confront, and to awaken. The mic is live, the questions are real, and the Bahamas is listening. This is Face to Face.
Today we're here live or on a pre-recorded show to speak to the leader of the Coalition of Independence, Mr. Lincoln Bain. Mr. Bain, just give us a little background story of yourself on what you would have done before getting into politics and all of the other stuff.
Well, it'll take more than our show for me to kind of outline all the things I've been involved with. I've lived 10 lifetimes.
Right.
In one life. God has been really good to me. I have been on the police force. I spent 10 years there officially. 5 years, and then I went off to study leave, and then I actually resigned after 10 years.
Okay.
Study leave to study business and computer science,
Okay.
which I still participate in, especially computer science, IT, software development, that kind of stuff. I've been in entertainment. I've been a singer.
Okay.
Preacher. I've been a lot of things. I was an entrepreneur for very many years.
Okay.
In my early 20s, I started experimenting with businesses, and God blessed me where they did well. And I did a lot of businesses. I then started helping other people open businesses as an angel investor. And then I became an activist, something I never knew I would be into, because that was never really my nature. Most people who know me all my life know me as a quiet person, and I'm more of a thinker than a fighter. But it turns out that activism is where God seems to have wanted me. And we fought for a lot of things.
Right.
We fought for a lot of people who were being abused by powerful people, by the government, etc. Many major cases, not even 1% of them have made the news, but the ones that did were very big instances. And we fought cases where most people didn't have the courage to fight for people. And I think that your life is about more than self, and when you're able to help others and not yourself. And so, to put it in a nutshell, I went from activism into politics. We discovered things about the natural resources that we felt the Bahamian people should find out, and we started exposing the Bahamian people to it, and that changed the course of the country. Now everyone is talking about natural resources, etc. Now, we weren't the first to talk about natural resources. People have been talking about it for a while, but we were the first to really bring the documents with the politician's signature on it, showing that we had natural resources. So even though they were denying that we had natural resources, they were lying to us, telling us we have no natural resources.
Right.
But now we were able to show them their signature.
Okay.
Well, what's this if we don't have this? And that changed the conversation. Now we have a Ministry of Natural Resources, so technically, we have a ministry of something that doesn't exist, according to their theory. But we've decided to fight for this. And we believe that God wants the people to prosper in this country. We believe that it's time for Bahamians to be the owners of this nation and not just servants. People uniting in love and service.
Right.
We believe in people united in love and ownership. We want to change the paradigm. And so we've fought for this. We've been arrested for this. We've stepped on jail cells. Our rights have been violated. But we know that freedom isn't free. Someone has to pay for it. So we have no problem paying for that, and we will continue to do so. We believe that now Bahamians have reached a point where they realize the trickery of the PLP and FNM, that they're working together to keep us poor so that they can remain rich. And we want to break that paradigm.
So why would one, knowing the landscape of politics in this country, in particular the Bahamas, would want to put themselves on the front line to lead a country? Because we know systemically that typically Bahamians in general, they're more committed to making their monies, just going along and getting along, and passive people. Why would you put yourself in the front line of politics?
This is going to sound overly spiritual, but I believe that my life is not my own. I believe that I belong to Him who sent me, and I believe that this is what He wants for this nation at this time, and that's what moves me. If it wasn't that passion, I could have quit this a long time ago. I wake up every day to people, spreading lies and vicious rumors and that kind of stuff on me. I have to fight the powers that be, and they're going after me at every turn. And so it only takes passion to continue to do something like this. So to answer your question, I feel that this is what is right for the people at this time, that we should benefit from what our ancestors fought for, our parents, our grandparents, etc., that we are the inheritors of this land, and that I believe that is what God wants at this time.
Okay. We typically see persons who enter into politics, they come into politics and you could reach them, they're easy accessible. Boom, I could call you today. Yeah, man, Brother Sanders, how you doing? Yes, I'm glad that you're here. When they get elected, last call. But what difference would you bring to the table?
Well, the difference is easy. We're tired of that. We're tired of politicians saying, we're going to do for you, and then when they get in, they disappear and they do nothing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take power from the politician and give it to the people. We have a principle that's called island states and city government, which means that, one, the money made in your island stays in your island. So the money made in Andros and Grand Bahama and Eleuthera stays in Eleuthera. All right? That's the first part of this. And the second part is city government. This is not local government. That's local government is a sham. All right, city government is literally where the people of the community, they run their own affairs. They have their budget from the state government, and they determine what they do in their community. They don't need the politician anymore. Why do we need the member of parliament to fix potholes in your community? Why do we need him for speed bumps and speed signs?
That's the bare minimum.
Yeah,
that's the bare minimum.
That's
what you're supposed to be doing.
Now you're going to have a mayor whose responsibility is for that community, and if he doesn't do his job, he's fired right away. Not 5 years later, right away he's fired, and we get a different mayor. And so that's the difference. So they don't have to worry about trusting us on that part of it, because they don't have to worry that, okay, you're going to be the MP, but you won't do nothing because the MPs never did nothing. No, now it's going to be on you. So if we know that you're going to fix the schools because your children have to go to it. You're going to fix the roads because your car got to drive on that. If you don't want good CV joints, then don't fix the road. But that's your money, and we're giving it to you.
So would that be the member of parliament as the mayor of that particular island or that particular constituency?
No, the mayor will be another elected official.
Okay. All right. So let's get into some of the hard questions that I came to ask today. Right? Our debt is approximately stand at $11.78 billion dollars, right? Our gross domestic product, right, of 2023, right? So my question to you would be, how do you plan to reduce the debt?
Reducing the debt is not as important as getting more revenue. If you have $1,000 a month that you have to pay out in debt, all right? That's your expenses for the month, for example. But you're making $800 a month. you reducing your spending, you tightening your belt, etc., is not going to get you to that 1,000. The problem with our country is they never get there, and they are always borrowing because they're not increasing revenue. And then sometimes they try to increase their revenue by taxing us, by giving us more taxes, and then they still never get there because it puts more burden, etc., on the country, and more taxes means less economic activity, and so they still will never get there. And so what we need to do is what other countries like us did. There's examples out there. There's countries like Dubai, Qatar, and these other places. They use their natural resources and they benefited from their natural resources. But what they did was they formed a sovereign wealth fund. We had one, and this administration canceled out that sovereign wealth fund. They ended it and did some investment fund because they don't want us to benefit directly from it. And so what they would do is form a sovereign wealth fund. That sovereign wealth fund would actually start companies. So for example, in Dubai, they formed a company called Nakil, and that was a tourism company that started building all of those attractions, those buildings, etc., that you see there.
Right.
And so it's not owned by the government, it's owned by the Sovereign Wealth Fund. All right, the government establishes it and is owned so it can benefit all of the people, and everyone gets a piece of that pie. And so the debt is kind of negligible after that, because now you're not restricted by what your debt is. And now that you're making revenue, to pay off that little $11.7 billion debt is nothing, all right? Because now you're using your natural resources. We have something that the world needs. And I always use sand and aragonite as an example, but we have many natural resources. Right. We have limestone, we have salt, and I mean, a number of things. And so we need to leverage that. When you look at our budget every year, we know that we export limestone from this country. You saw Vaughn Miller talk about it in the House of Assembly, $5.4 billion worth. We get zero for that. If you look in the budget, revenue from the limestone, zero. How is it possible? And we're sending billions worth out of this country. The salt that goes out, each of those ships carry 50,000 tons, not pounds, tons of salt when they leave. That's the street value in the Bahamas of about $300 million in one ship going. Do you know how much we get for each ship? We get $500. Not 500,000, not 5,000. $500 for that ship. This is where the problem is. It's not that we don't have the natural resources, it's that we're not benefiting from it. And so what the miners in these industries have told me, who gave me these documents, obviously I didn't get it from the government, they've told me that the government is more concerned about what they get under the table. They don't care about getting the money that the government should get. They said even the aragonite, where there was a deal to pay $2 a ton, they said the government doesn't collect that. The government never collected that.
So my question would be is, okay, let's go back to the aragonite. It's very interesting. You're saying that they're collecting billions of dollars.
For limestone.
For limestone.
Yes.
Where's the money going?
We don't know. Other people are benefiting from it. We believe that politicians are collecting the money under the table, and that the foreign interests and companies that have the mining licenses are taking the money. Like I said, it was miners who gave me the documents, and one of them said to me, Lincoln, the Bain people are being ripped off because there's so much that they can benefit from. And he said, show this to the Bahamian people. He gave me the contract. He said, show this to them, and then they're going to wake up and they're going to rise up and want to get what's theirs. And I said, well, you don't know Bahamians. He said, if you show it to them and they don't want what is theirs, then that's on them. But he said he's made so much money of what belongs to the Bahamian people that he feels guilty. And he wants, he's old now and he wants to go to heaven. And so he said, show this to them, and then it's on them.
Wow.
And so what the politicians are trying to do is get you to believe that we're selling dreams and that this can't happen, is not possible, because they made sure you didn't know the value of what you have. You saw, as soon as we started putting out documents, they sent Romy Ferreira, who was the minister at the time, to say that the aragonite industry is only worth $2.5 million. I mean, how could that come out of your mouth? The trucks that they use to carry the aragonite, it costs $8 million in the U.S., probably double that here.
Do you think they send the wrong man with the message? Because, if you could remember, after the hurricane in Freeport, he said it was only 2 birds, and I forget how it goes, that perished in the storm. So I guess he probably was a bit confused at the time.
They are so used to blind shamming us that they feel they could tell us anything, and because they're the minister or they're wearing a nice suit and a tie, that we're just going to believe everything they say.
Right.
And they know that Bahamians are uneducated, and that's why they keep us uneducated and unknowledgeable about what we have. Because the minute we know what we have, we're going to demand it.
Okay.
So basically, you have a sovereign wealth fund, and the sovereign wealth fund generates income. All right, so everything you have of value goes into the sovereign wealth fund, and then you trade your income on the market, and the return on investment is what you use to issue dividends, whatever is decided that the dividend would be, to the Bahamian people. So other countries are doing this. So this is not anything that's impossible, especially those Middle Eastern countries that have oil. Oil is not as valuable as what we have. We have sand, limestone, etc. And what makes it so valuable is because the world is running out of sand. All right, and if you do a quick search on YouTube, you will see there's so many documentaries on that. The YouTube has been dealing with this as a serious issue. No one has more readily accessible sand than us. All right, and so we have what the world needs. So we got something good. We have limestone. In fact, all of our islands are limestone. We are limestone. We got 700 islands and over 2,000 keys. We could assign one island to say this is a limestone island that we're going to mine, and we're going to use the money from that and put it into the sovereign wealth fund, trade it on the markets. All right, because our land is limestone. In one of our documentaries, and our documentaries are on the website, we actually showed the value of the limestone that your house is on. The limestone underneath your house is more valuable than they could sell your house and the land for. And that's why whenever they're developing these neighborhoods, first you'll see them excavating. They're taking the limestone, which is valuable. You'll see them digging canals. That's because they're taking the limestone, which is valuable. You see, they'll cut the hills. And the houses, etc., and the properties they're selling, that's just the gravy. The big money was in selling that limestone, you see? And so we have something valuable that the world needs. And we believe, some people don't believe, because we got this idea of $100,000 from the union leaders and the PLP. In around 2014 or so, they did a research on the limestone, and they, based on their research, they said that every household can get, not limestone or aragonite, can get $100,000, every household. We didn't come up with that. The union leaders at the time, and there's documentation we've put out with that, I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, I have.
And the PLP came up with that. And so we did our research and we said, okay, that was just aragonite. We have a lot of other natural resources. If we monetize them properly, we don't believe it's $100,000 per household. We believe that every Bahamian adult can get that, all right, 21 and over. And so that's where that came from. So some people say, oh, they're using it as an election ploy, et cetera, et cetera. No, we believe that's what Bahamians are entitled to. And it's something to go after. Why just sit down and say something is impossible? Why not try? That's like sitting down and saying, I want to be a doctor, but I could never afford going to medical school. I could never graduate and do all those exams. Why don't you just go and try?
Right.
It's worth a try.
Right.
And so right now we know that it's there. We know that other people are making billions from it. Why not us?
Is there a strategic plan to, or is your party in possession of a plan that is feasible? That after, okay, if you become the government of the Bahamas, you implement this. How would that sustain itself? Or would this be just a one-time $100,000 payment per Bahamian, or is that over the course of life? How then we would determine who would get this $100,000? If it would be retroactive to those who might have passed on. So let's say my grandfather and my father who's passed on. Would I be able to receive their $100,000?
No, with the suggestion that we're putting forward, and in the end, Bahamians are going to have to decide the final, whatever the final thing is. But the suggestion we're putting forward is that every living Bahamian adult, 21 and over, we don't want to give an 18-year-old $100,000. You know, they're still learning life. Every adult 21 and over is able to get what belongs to them. All right, and so that's what we're doing. I know it's not a one-time payment. Our carbon credits alone is verified to be worth $156 billion. That's the value. All right, if we monetize that, there's no reason we can't make sure that we pay off our debt, have all the infrastructure that we need, and every Bahamian is in a comfortable place. And foreigners come here to work for us. Because they say, well, if you give everyone benefits, who's going to work? Well, the foreigners getting all the jobs now. They're already taking over the job market. So why don't we own this country and let the foreigners come work for us?
Right.
Like happens in Dubai, Qatar, Norway, Kuwait. Why can't we change our thinking? Why do we have to be the servants? Why do we have to be the slaves? Bahamians are royalty, man. And this is a fight to make every Bahamian royalty. We've been treated like second class in our country for too long. And they keep us poor and they keep us uninformed and uneducated in order to do that. But this is a movement to educate the Bahamian people and to empower the Bahamian people so that they get what's entitled to them. They say some people is going to squander their money. That's their money. Some people say, oh, you know, some people's going to waste the money, some are going to take drugs, etc., etc. If you're my brother and our daddy leave $1 million for us, am I going to say, don't give me that money because you're going to squander the money?
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
The fact of the matter is the money is ours. It's not a gift. It's not a handout. It's ownership. And they've made sure that Bahamians don't feel entitled to this country for so long that we don't realize that we own this. It's not a handout.
Right.
It's yours.
Okay.
And so that's the theory. In terms of the crown land that we're going to grant to every single Bahamian, that's yours. That's not a handout. That's not a gift. That's yours. We are the inheritors. The Constitution says it. We are the inheritors of this Bahama land, of these islands. It belongs to you. So someone giving you what belongs to you is not a gift. If your father dies and leaves property for you and your brothers, and the executor gives you your property, that's not a gift. The executor didn't do anything for you. That's yours.
Yes.
You know, and so we have to change our thinking. But the politicians are allowing their cronies and their trolls to make you think that, oh, these people want something for nothing. No, it's ours.
So my question, because I'm going off script now, but since you're talking, if you're able to give us the inheritance that what is ours, as you're saying, most persons believe that it's only Nassau, Freeport, or Grand Bahama, and sometimes Abaco is mixed up in the mix as developing countries in Exuma. How would that work? Would you say, okay, Hubert, where's your descendants from? And that is where you get
Yes,
your
that's
crown
what
land?
we suggested,
Right.
that we would want to issue persons from where they're from. Because we have other plans that's going to encourage persons to go back to their islands,
Right.
to go back to the family islands. We have developments. We're going to develop the family islands. This is not about Nassau anymore. We have a lot of things that we're going to do to develop the family islands, and we're going to need Bahamians there to own the resources, including we're going to own cruise ships. And those cruise ships are now, that we own, are now going to sail all of our islands. We're going to build attractions for each these islands for the cruise ships, on each of these islands for the cruise ships. The same thing that Disney is doing, that Royal Caribbean is doing with their keys, we can do this on our own islands. Make the attraction public, that whoever wants to go can go, not a private island. And so we're going to do that. And so Bahamians are going to have to service the persons who come to work there. They're going to have to service, cut hair. They're going to have to sell groceries, all that kind of stuff. So now you have a reason to go back home. You're going to go back home. You and your family put together with your money that you got from the Sovereign Wealth Fund. You build apartments, etc., for those people to live in. And now it's going to spread the economy, just the cruise ship idea alone. Why aren't we in the cruise ship business? Why not? All right, so that's just one example. We have marinas that we're going to build on the southern islands, etc. We have agriculture, etc. that we're going to do on these islands. But it's time to build up this nation. It's just a blank slate. They're still only focusing on Nassau and waiting, sitting down lazily, waiting for some foreign investor to say, okay, I want to build something on that key. Why don't we build something on the key? They will go to the House of Assembly and borrow $500 million like that, and we don't see where it goes. They'll borrow $1 billion like that. And we don't, what, you didn't build any schools, no roads, what's going on? But why didn't you go and borrow $1 billion and buy several cruise ships? And have a fleet of cruise ships cruising this nation and spreading the economy around? That changes the game. And now you have cruise ships that can go to the rest of the Caribbean. And now we can benefit off of their tourism. Mexico, Jamaica, all of these places, Cayman Islands. Our cruise ships can have our cuisine, our entertainment, our stage shows to give our they call it the orange economy, a boost. And so now it changes the whole game. But we need leaders with vision to be able to take us to the next level. We're sitting down lazily waiting for a foreign investor to say, I want to do this, here's your under the table money, and then you just take some credit because it was done under your administration.
Right. I've known because, I'm one of those 70 babies. So growing up, we would know Sir Lyndon Pinlin and that administration, and they would have owned hotels. And then prior into the 90s, they sold the hotels, the government, right? They sold, they had the hotels, Bahamas was running these hotels, they weren't doing, I guess, too well. And so they decided to sell them. Would that be almost similar to owning the cruise ship? How would we now own the business that we're in?
It would not be similar at all because the government won't be running this.
Okay.
And those hotels fail the same way Bahamas Air is failing in terms of its revenue because of interference from politicians. And so these will be owned by the Sovereign Wealth Fund and managed privately by professionals. All right, and so we have more experience in hospitality than probably any other nation. Dubai and those just came around. All right, we've been doing this all of our lives. They taught us to love tourists, and so we have all of the experience that we need to get this done. We have been running the business, but we have been the slaves and the servants. Now we can be the owner. And so most of the hotels you see in the world today have 3 brands on them. All right, there's only Marriott, Hyatt, etc. So they only have 3 brands, but those brands don't own the actual hotel. They just either use their name or use their management skills. You see, the owners of the hotel just buy the hotel, own it, put Marriott or hire a management company to actually run it. We can do the same thing. There are professional management companies all over the world that do this, and we have Bahamians that we can put together management companies that can actually do it here, and they can use this service, our Sovereign Wealth Fund, around the world to say no one better at hotels than Bahamians. And so now our management companies can be running hotels in Europe, running hotels in America, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have to think bigger, man. You see? And so no government will be running our Sovereign Wealth Fund. None of them will be running any of these businesses. Just like in Dubai and Qatar, they don't run the businesses. They just facilitate it. It's owned, so ownership and management is 2 different things.
Right.
You see? And so Saul Kirshner and his team, Sun International, used to own Atlantis. They couldn't afford it anymore after they tried that buyout. And someone else, I think it was Blackwood or something, they came in.
It's a Canadian company now.
They came in and they now run it. It wasn't even a blip. All right? That's just ownership. You see? And I think at one point after that, when they came in, Marriott was the company dealing with the management and the system, etc. So this is how we're going to deal with things differently.
Okay. Let's slip right over into immigration. It seems that we have a serious immigration issue in this country. In times, I've heard you and others would have been saying that we have foreign nationals here showing up with passports, they're showing up here with voters card. Why do you blame the foreigners?
I don't.
Who do you blame?
I blame our leaders. I believe that we don't have an immigration problem. We have a corruption problem. I've been saying that. I don't blame a Haitian man who's going to come here and try to have a better life for himself. I don't blame a Haitian man who's going to try to have a better life for his children and try to push his children forward. But I blame the Bahamian leader that we entrusted with our national security, who is not doing what he's supposed to do, that's taking a bribe from the foreigner. That's who I blame. It's not about the Haitians or the Chinese or the Jamaicans. They have a right to try whatever they want to try. And so if a man breaks into your house and he comes in there and you watch him walk past and he goes over and slaps your wife and you stand up and say, oh, well, and you do nothing.
Right.
Yes, that man is wrong, but I blame you. How could you stand up and watch your children abused in your house? Okay? And so I blame the Bahamians who are sitting down and watching this happen, but mostly I blame the leaders. Because clearly those fake documents they're getting, a leader had to authorize them to get that. They have to sign off on it. And the buck stops with immigration with the Prime Minister, who's the chairman of the Immigration Board.
Would you, because I keep saying this, is that I don't even put the blame on the politician. I put the blame on the people who work in these agencies. As I say, like national insurance. I blame those persons. I blame those persons who work in immigration, the immigration officers. I blame the people who work in the passport office, because they are the ones who are issuing it, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are taking a little couple dollars on the side. Yes, they're getting instructions, but a person like you or I would never sit in a ministry and let somebody dictate to us to give John Paul a passport.
I disagree to a certain extent. That is happening to a certain extent, but I don't blame them. Those people don't want this happening. And as you can see, we've been revealing a lot of information with all of this. That comes from them. It's the people working in these ministries who don't want this to happen. With the immigration situation, first of all, where we had the minister himself going to a funeral and offering, giving out a citizenship. I mean, it's the Commonwealth of Narnia. It was the Haitian nationals who sent that to me. Haitians saw that and they were offended. They felt like they've been in this country all this time. They were doing things the right way. They waited their turn, and now they're seeing because someone is willing to pay off a politician, things are getting done. They were angry with that. And as you saw what happened with the people in the ministry, they were giving us the information. There were persons in the Ministry of Immigration handing out this information and saying this is wrong. Here's the documents. Obviously, we had to get it from them. They don't want this. And you can see on some of the documents, they are saying the minister made me do this. This is not lawful, but the minister made me.
Really?
They put it on writing on the documents. We released the documents.
Really?
All right? And so they don't want this happening. People in NIB would call and say, listen, this is what's going on, man. These people are taking over. Something needs to happen. So they just feel hopeless. Who do you complain to? The Prime Minister appoints the judges. The Prime Minister appoints the Commissioner of Police.
That's actually part of my question, right?
And so they have the Attorney General. And so where do you go? And so people just feel like there's no one to complain to. So what do? They come to us because they feel that we have the courage to do something about this. And they want to expose these stuff. And so I don't believe it's those people. I believe that when a good, decent, righteous government comes, where we can clean up this thing, that we're going to have a clean system. Now, some of them say, you know what, I might as well go sell some papers or do whatever because that's just the way it is. Ain't nothing gonna change. So some of them say, man, listen, give me a couple of dollars, I'll get that for you fast because there ain't nothing happening here. And so it's because the corruption came from the top that caused that. And they were forcing this on people, and there's documentation to prove that. And that's why we called for a commission of inquiry as relates to immigration. And they didn't want to do it, and that's why they prorogued the House. All right? Notice they never said why they prorogued the House. They prorogued the House because once a new session comes, anything that was presented before, it dies. And so they prorogued the House, and then they transferred the minister out of there. But that's because of the action that we took.
Why Bahamians in itself? Like, if I have, let's say, on my birth certificate, my father's name is spelled different by one letter, I have to now go and get an affidavit, or I have to prove that that is my father when I have his birth certificate and all this other stuff. Why are Bahamians I have to jump through hoops to get their documents? But it seems like other persons could just show up here off a flight, don't speak the language that you and I speak, but off of a flight, never been to this country, could show up here with a passport, could show up here with national insurance card, right, and a place to live.
They make everything difficult for Bahamians in this country. And at some point, Bahamians are going to have to start realizing that. They make everything difficult. And we have to stop that. Simple things. You know, I was traveling, I was on a business trip going to Israel one time. And my partner who was going with me is Jewish. We were leaving from New York. And when we got in the airport, he realized, oh, my passport is expired. You know, Americans don't really use passports that often, so he didn't realize it was expired. So he said, okay, you guys go ahead to Israel. I'll see you all tomorrow. I'll get on the flight tomorrow. I said, you on the flight when? He said, tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow. I said, well, you got some kind of hookup? He said, no, I'm just going to go get my passport. I said, you can get your passport just like that? He said, yeah, they have all the information. I mean, you're just renewing your passport.
That's correct. I
said, what? And he went, and just like he said, the next day he was in. He didn't pay nobody off. He just went and got his thing renewed. They have all the information. You shouldn't even be filling out a form.
So why you and I can't get our passport the next day? I have to wait 3 weeks.
They make everything difficult to kind of encourage you to have to pay to get it easier. All right? And we got to fix this country. For our Bahamians who've lived in other countries and see where things just work. You know, I went to law school in England. and I bought a car, and I was worried that I have to go in some long line somewhere. The car lot owner said, he said, no. He said, you don't go in any line. He said, you just go home, you go on your computer or go on the phone, and you just put in your information, and they're going to send your papers in your mail. I said, what? They're going to send my license in the mail? He's like, yeah, that'll come straight to your house. I said, wow. Okay, what about the inspection? He said, no, you go to any licensed mechanic, and they're going to do a proper inspection. They're not going to tell you, turn your wipers on, turn them off, blow your horn, ridiculous stuff. Because your light could blow as soon as you leave from there,
Exactly.
And so he said, no, they're going to actually inspect your car. And so they're going to tell you that your belts are going to go, your belts got like 3 to 6 months left in them. Some rust is under there because of the salt from the snow. And so they're going to go do a proper inspection. He said, any licensed mechanic can do that. I'm like, wow, how can that work? Because mechanics can just do a little side job for their family and stuff like that. It's like, no. They will get lost in jail. No one will risk their business and their business license to mess around with that.
Right. So it's a criminal offense.
Oh, serious criminal offense. But you can now trust vehicles when you buy it if it has an MOT license.
Right.
Because it got properly inspected. So like vehicles that have the MOT inspection is actually more valuable. You see?
Okay.
And so countries just work, man. In the Bahamas, everything is difficult, but it's difficult for Bahamians. And they set the corrupt system so that you have to pay to get anything done, and you got to go through them. Everything in our law, it goes back to a member of parliament. You can go to the United States today. You go to Florida today, you can open up a business today and have your bank account today. You don't ever have to see no politician. You don't have to see the mayor, the governor, nobody. Because there are systems in place for you to go over there. You can incorporate your company today. You can open your bank account today, and you can get going.
Yeah.
But here, everything is difficult for you. Your bank account may take you months to open, a business bank account, in this Bahamas, because they don't want you in business.
Right.
We got to fix this country.
That you got to produce. You have to produce a business plans for the bank. I always wonder why. But since the government have already issued you a certificate to operate, why should I have to
They're making everything difficult, and we're going to change this system to make it easy for Bahamians to be owners. We're going to transform our nation so that you and your children can now be owners. Our education system is going to be transformed so that our children think like owners. We're not going to manufacture slaves and servants anymore. People to make up beds and to serve drinks. Let the foreigners come do that. All right? They're going to come do that for us, though, because we're going to own it, and they're going to work for us.
What is your stance on the shanty towns?
There will be no shanty towns in the New Bahamas. None. I think that shanty towns are a crime against humanity. Shanty towns were put there as a form of modern day slavery. So the oligarchs who want cheap labor, they allow the shanty towns to exist because, especially in this case, the Haitians would be willing to live in them, and they don't have expensive rent or mortgage or light bill and all these other bills that we have, and so you can pay them less. You can't pay a Bahamian what you would pay them because the Bahamian has his mortgage or his rent or his light bill and all these other fees that he has to pay. And so that's why they allow the shanty towns to flourish. You understand? And so that's a crime against humanity. So now you have children growing up in these situations where they don't have light and water and electricity, to do their homework and to iron their clothes, etc. I don't think humans should be living like that. And I think that they are being abused. These Haitians are being used by crooked politicians, and they make money from them. They use them. They're sucking them dry, and now they're pretending to love them and saying, hey, we love you, see, we give you papers. But they're taking money from them under the table, and they're making billions of dollars. Illegal immigration is a $1 billion industry. $1 billion. One of those boats that they come on, they probably pay $8,000 to be on that boat. That's the first cost. That's 300 people on that boat, you do the math. Bahamas Air don't make that. Cruise ships probably don't make that on one trip, all right, from tickets alone. And so they make a lot of money from this. $8,000, Bahamians don't spend $8,000 on numbers in a year. They don't spend $8,000 buying drugs in a year. But so this is a huge business. And after they land here, then they got to pay off someone to get some papers. That's just the first step. Then they got to get them extended. Then they got to get a a work permit. Then they got to try to get some permanent residency. Then they got to pay someone to get citizenship. This is a big money business. So each one of those persons on the boat or on that plane that's coming, that's a customer for the crooked politician. That's what this is. That's why they allow it to happen.
Would you make persons who own the land that is being developed as shanty towns, would you make that a criminal offense? Because persons are benefiting now.
It's already a criminal
offense. So why are we not carrying out the law?
We're not carrying out the law because in a lot of instances it was politicians who got that land and they were renting to these people. All right? There was a deal made in Abaco which caused all of this to start where a person, Edison Key and those, they wanted persons to work on their orange farms. And so what did they do? They made a deal with Penn and let these people come in. So when this flooding started to happen, Loftus Roker said, this can't happen because if this keep happening, we could lose our country. Penland told Loftus, leave that alone. All right? And that's where it started. You understand? And that's what continues to happen. And so now these people, they're having children. And so the children are now Bahamians. All right, because they get naturalized. And so now they get issued crown land, and then they allow their people to come on the crown land, and they're renting to them. And then when people make noise, they say, no, that's Bahamians renting to them. But they don't tell you the full story that that's the children of those Haitian immigrants. So yes, technically they're Bahamians, but no, they are persons who were naturalized and became Bahamians who was facilitating this whole thing. And it's a big criminal ring. We don't have a problem with immigration. We want persons to come here into this country and work for us. We have a problem with illegal immigration because of the corruption. Not only people come on those boats, drugs and guns come on those boats. We've seen it. All right? Facts. And so now you're enabling a crime wave that's affecting us, our society, and it's affecting our neighbor to the north, America. And that's not fair. All right? So we got to fix this country. Let's have this done right, man. The biggest problem I have with illegal immigration is, like I said, the shantytown and children being forced to live in those conditions. And also, when you come here illegally, you can't get a driver's license. So when you go in the car and hit someone, you jump out and break off running.
Because nobody can find you.
Yeah. You can't get a bank account. So you keep your money under the mattress. So when you get robbed, that's a problem. And then when they get robbed, sometimes they can't make a complaint because they know they're illegal. And so people take advantage of them. I have a problem with that. There are people I know of who've been raped and they didn't make a complaint because they were illegal immigrants. But we want to fix that. We're more human in our thinking than these people who are taking advantage of them. We want to make sure that no one can abuse you when you're in this country. But if everyone comes here the right way, our country can operate properly. We're not going to run out of hospital beds. We're not going to run out of school seats. We're not going to run out of driver's license and license plates, all right, and NIB cards, because we know how much people we are managing for. But right now, we don't know how much people are in this country, all right? The government is now saying that they send back 13,000 persons in 4 years. Imagine how much people didn't get caught. Imagine that. It's 13,000 because it rose exponentially.
Did they count the ones that are now coming on Bahamas weekly?
No.
Because they're not considered illegals, right?
No. They're just counting the persons that they sent back. And if you remember carefully over the last 4 years, they were only sending back persons who were caught by the U.S. Coast Guard or the Cubans or Turks and Caicos. Our defense force wasn't catching no one. All right? It's almost like they had instructions to leave that alone. But when they're caught, you see, you can count those persons because they were in the news. So they'll send back that amount of people. But the persons who just land, they weren't getting sent back. They were negotiating with them to sell them papers, et cetera, and papers been selling in this country like candy. That's the problem.
Do you support birthright citizenship?
Birthright citizenship?
Yeah, like, illegals, as illegals come into the country, they have a lot of children. Are they considered Bahamians? Are they entitled to?
No, in the New Bahamas, you will not be able to get citizenship unless you have a right to citizenship at birth. All right, and so if your parents are Bahamian, either of your parents are Bahamian, you have a right. All right, whether they're male or female, whatever they are, we believe that you have a right to pass on your bloodline. All right. So as long as that's the case, then you're fine.
So you would
But
actually
we're not going
repeal.
to allow naturalization.
Right.
No, we're dealing with going forward. We're not
Right.
dealing with.
No, the reason why I
exact-
asked if it's repealed, because earlier last year, a lot of persons were made naturalized Bahamians who were born here. Because it was saying in the years before that either your father had to be a Bahamian in order for you to receive citizenship, not even the mother, right? Wherever the mother is from, that is where your citizenship comes from.
Yeah.
So in essence, we'll be going back to that position, or would it be a new development as it
No,
relates to
our
the person?
position is keep it simple. Our position is that if either of your parents are Bahamian, you're Bahamian.
Okay.
All right, because of your blood. Think about this, and there's some people who don't agree with that, but think about this. Even in medieval times, the Queen of England might find a husband for political reasons from France or from Spain. And so when that husband now comes and lives in England, he's a prince over there, but now he's with the Queen. And so when he comes here and they have a child, are you telling me that child doesn't have right to be a British citizen, one, or to be king? No.
Right.
His royal blood allows him to do that. And I believe that Bahamians are royalty.
Okay.
And so your blood, whether you're male or female, should be able to pass down
Equality.
to your child.
Equality, okay.
That's what I believe.
Okay. And let's just go right over to what's happening as it relates to murder and crime in this country. In 2024, we had 119 murders, right? An increase of 8% in the previous years, right? We always hearing that crime is down. Crime is down. But for those who live here, especially in New Providence, now in Grand Bahama, crime seems to be out of control. What is the plan to tackle some of the systemic problems?
Crime has not been down for decades. The reporting of crime is down. There are many people who experience crimes who don't even report it. All right? Their car get broken into, they say, man, they ain't gonna do nothing. They can take forever to come and they ain't gonna do nothing. So they just don't even report it.
Right.
All right? Sometimes house breaking, a lot of people say, you know what? They ain't gonna find who do this, so I ain't worrying about that. And some people will, but some people say, no, I'm tired of this. Sometimes someone does something to someone else, they say, you know what, I can just leave that alone because I ain't got time to waste with this. So the reporting of crime is down because people have lost confidence in the judicial system because they've experienced corruption in many instances, and they see where if someone connected to someone, oh, they could come and twist it and turn it, and that person is going to get off or get away. And so many people have lost confidence in our judicial system. So crime is not down. The reporting of it
crime
is down.
Would you support for the Commissioner of Police, the Commodore of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Customs, Immigration, and the correctional facilities, those commandants or those leaders of those particular agencies, would you support a move for those persons being elected officials?
Yes, we
instead of being
believe that.
appointed?
We believe that there's going to be island states, and each one of those island states should have their own police chief. All right, and that those police chiefs should be elected. That is what we believe. All right, there has to be an executive that's under the control of the executive. So some of those positions needs to be appointed so that we can have proper running of the country. But certain positions needs to be elected. If you have your own island state, you could pick your judges who are going to make sure that we don't clog up the court system by having to bring people over to Nassau. You do whatever you're doing right over there, your civil suits and whatever you need, you deal with that right over there where you are, and those persons can be elected. All right, and the central government still has final say over everything, but we're gonna make sure that there's devolution, that everyone has their own autonomy to do what they need to do, and it's gonna make the whole society work better. Like Jethro told Moses, you put the tens over the hundreds, and the hundreds over the thousands, and the thousands over the millions, so you can have order. And so now we have people with responsibility for a city in Eleuthera, and so now we can have them account for what's going on.
So they will be answerable to the persons who would elect them to those positions instead of having the Prime Minister appoint me to this board or appoint me as the
and
judge.
Where there are appointments, those appointments is going to be grilled by the Senate. The Senate will be elected in the New Bahamas.
Okay.
And so not just a rubber stamp or you put your people there as a favor in the Senate. No, the Senate will have an actual role. All right? And those persons will be elected. And so now when the Prime Minister says, this is the man I want to put as the Minister of Defense, he goes before the Senate grills him, and we can deal with that. The reason this is important is because there are many qualified persons who don't want to go into politics because they fight politics dirty. And so let's say you're a medical professional and you want to go into politics. You may think twice because they're going to dirty your name. They're going to lie on you. They're going to spread stuff. They're going to attack you. What they can't find, they'll make up. So a lot of decent, respectable professionals don't want to go through that process. But with this process, now you can have professionals who are appointed. Anyone, not just a member of parliament or a senator, anyone can be appointed like they do in America. And so now you'll have professionals running those industries. You won't end up somewhere like last term, end up with something like Renwood Wells being Minister of Health. Like, what is that? All right, that's sick. All right, and then these ministers will come into the ministry like they know it all. Like, you don't have any experience in this thing.
No expertise,
you know?
Yes.
Now you don't have to worry about that because now you can grab someone who's experienced in that field and say, okay, you're going to be Minister of Health. And it can be an MP or it can be someone who's not an MP. All right, and now we can be efficient and work as one Bahamas.
How do you feel about policing themselves as a former police officer?
That cannot happen. That cannot happen.
Would your government be open to having a board that is, I don't know, either elected or appointed that would police the police?
Yes.
How would that
That
work?
is something that we are going to do. Definitely we're going to have internal affairs that's going to be investigating all of the uniform branches, and that's to protect them too, because sometimes police get lied on, but they're going to investigate all of those branches. And then when there are complaints, you can't have police investigating themselves, all right? Because it's a brotherhood and there's affinity. Not that they can't be independent and do what they're supposed to do, but we want the trust of the public. So if someone has a complaint against you and the complaint is made to your brother, no one is going to trust that.
That's correct.
No one's going to believe that.
That's correct.
Even in courts,
And I have plenty brothers.
the judge will say, or the magistrate will say, that's my cousin, or that's my barber. I can't deal with this case. And so with police, it should be the same thing. I mean, it's just common sense. It's not saying that the police can't do it, but it's just to say there must be no corruption. We have to avoid corruption and the appearance of corruption.
And accountability.
Right, and so we're going to have a different board to deal with that. So now the people can trust that when they say this police officer is innocent, then he's innocent.
Freedom of information. You know, a lot of people have been talking about that for years. We want the freedom of information now. Persons are being given, especially in this season, you're seeing a lot of contracts going out to this one and that one, millions and millions of dollars of contract. How would you deal with freedom of information and the procurement of these government contracts?
The truth is we are the freedom of information right now. That's who we are. We are the ones who are exposing all of the information that the people need, and we're doing it fearlessly. You're not going to get that from the PLP and FNM, and they've been dragging their foot with it because they are a part of this corruption. Why would they tell you what they're doing? They're not going to tell you. And so you're not going to get that from them. But you need that for a proper running society. When they got they gave the consultancy to the New Zealand company on VAT, they told them that you cannot start VAT unless you have freedom of information. And the administration at the time was like, okay, thanks, we hear y'all, but we're not doing it. You know? And so we need Freedom of Information Act in this country that is actually functioning. So what they did was they finally kicked the can slowly down the road to where they have the act. They enforced one part of it, the whistleblower part of it, and then the minister dragged on saying they're trying to find a commissioner to run it, right? So he waited until his term was almost over, then put a commissioner, but gave him no money, no budget. Brave Davis took over. They're still giving him no money, so now he's working from at home, all right? And there's no budget for him to do anything, and that's where the problem, and it's because they don't want it. And if Bahamians are if they feel Bahamians could vote for them anyway, why should they give you something that you're entitled to? Why? They feel you could vote for them or their friends, their business partners, the F&M anyway. So why?
I have about 2 or 3 more questions to ask you, but one of the things I hear a lot of persons call you Mr. President. Would, if elected as the Prime Minister or elected as the government of the Bahamas, because I really don't believe that there was ever a PLP government or F&M government. I call them governments. They were governments of the Bahamas. And so, if elected, would you move away from the system that we have now and create? How would you create it too?
We're going to become a republic. All right. Now there are many types of republics in the world.
Right.
America is a republic, but Iran is also a republic. China is a republic. So there are different types of republic. We're going to have a republic that's more like America. So that we can have the accountability, and it's easier for us to understand because we're used to seeing that system. But the system, in my opinion, is very effective with dealing with what we have to deal with in our society. So that's the kind of republic we're going to. So Barbados just became a republic, but they're the type that has a president and a prime minister. We're going to have a president and a vice president, and then a Congress with a Senate that's elected, and a parliament that is elected. And so you have all these different branches to control the power, because our job is to take power away from the politician, and that includes the president. All right? And so that's what we're going to do.
So, typically we're under this monarchy of the United Kingdom. When our leaders are elected, they swear their allegiance to the king, his heirs, and his successors. When or if your government is come to power, right? Who would you be swearing your allegiance to?
We're going to swear our allegiance to the people. We're not going to swear our allegiance to the Queen when we get into office. We're not going to swear.
The king,
or the King. I don't swear. Well, our Constitution still refers to the Queen. They didn't update it. But I'm not going to be swearing to anyone outside of this country. In fact, I don't swear. If I go to court, I don't swear. But I won't be swearing allegiance to them. Yeah.
So.
There's a legal process that you have to go through, and we call it affirming. So we're going to affirm what we have to affirm, and then we're going to come in and change everything that we need to change.
So you would move underneath our court system now. Would we be moving from the Privy Council or moving into the Caribbean Courts of Justice, or how would that take effect as it relates to our legalities and our legal system? Eventually.
Initially, we have to do something with with our court system, all right? And then once we clean up our court system, and we have confidence by the Bahamian people and the international community, then we can make those transformations that we need to make, all right? Right now, if you don't get justice in the Bahamas, the only way to get justice is to go to the Privy Council, where you feel it is an independent person looking at that.
And very expensive.
Right? Yeah, it's very expensive. I'm dealing with that process right now. I have a legal case through an investment, and so I know how expensive it can be. I've already spent probably 4 times what the amount of money we're talking about is, and so I understand that. But if you're going before judges that were appointed by the Prime Minister, I mean, how do you trust that?
Yes.
All right. There are some Bahamians who feel like, man, listen, that's a PLP judge. Some people say, oh, that's a F&M judge. And so it kind of puts a kind of stain on the system to where people feel like, no, let's let them foreign people who don't know none of us make a determination on this. And so once we come and clean up the system, then we can say, okay, that's enough of that. Let's deal with this on our own.
As the leader of the COI, I see you have a nice cohort of candidates. What make you different than the PLP and the F&M and all of the other persons who are vying for leadership of this country?
The PLP and the F&M is one organization that is operating as 2 organizations. The PLP and F&M are run by the same oligarchs who fund them. The same people fund both of those organizations, and they have all to say. It don't matter who their candidates are. Every election, they present you all these candidates. Oh, this one is so qualified. Look at this. This is Wayne Monroe. He's a this and he's a that. Then when he get it, he be like, well, why crime so bad now? I thought he was experienced. I thought he was this and that. Oh, look at Marvin Dames. He was a former police officer. Well, why crime so bad on you? Why you buy drones and the drones can't ever show up? It's because they can only do what they're allowed to do by the party. And we have to stop being fooled that the candidates in those 2 parties don't matter. because they come in and their hands are tied. And those politicians have told us that. Look at all the mouth Vaughan Miller had about our natural resources. Now he in the PLP, he can't say a word.
Mom's
All
the
right?
word.
So stop being fooled by who the candidates are. And some people will say, oh yeah, well this one, vote for the candidate, don't vote for the party, vote for the man. That man can only do what the party allows him to do. And we don't want, our country is falling apart. We are being invaded. We're losing everything that we have. And you want an MP because the MP just come and cut some bush, or the MP that's come to your funeral. No, we don't need a good MP. We need a good government. All right? And so we need to change the PLP and the F&M because they've been shamming us. And they're going to come again. You see, the F&M is going to come and say, oh, look at these qualified entrepreneurs and these people. We're going to have something new and something different. No, no, no. When they get in, the people who really run the F&M is going to say, this is what we're doing. We're doing this, that, that, and that. That, leave that alone. And that's what always happens. We have to wake up.
What would be your advice to the Bahamian people in the next coming general election on, is this a decision based on the future, or is this a decision based on what we need now?
You mean the vote?
Yes.
This is a decision based on now and the future. Like Dr. Miles said, we're going to have to make a choice to go 50 years forwards or 50 years backwards. It's simple as that. We've not been going where we're supposed to go. Nothing in this country is working. We don't have good health care. You mean to tell me we make $3 billion a year, but you can't build a hospital? The only government that built a hospital was the UBP 70 years ago. You mean none of y'all thought to build a hospital for us? We can't have, and now they're borrowing from the Chinese.
Every day.
You know, to build something that's not a hospital, but they just call it that to swing you.
A nice clinic.
It's a maternity clinic. All right? You can't deal with crime in all these years. You can't have good education, our education system. They keep bragging it is a D. Come on. Nothing works on the family islands. We're still talking about ambulance and fire trucks and roads. I mean, other countries don't even campaign on roads. How you be campaigning that you fix roads?
Bare minimum.
We need a country that works, man. You know, we need a country that works. And so if persons want to keep going nowhere fast, then you vote for the PLP and F&M. That is your best bet. If you still want this country to not operate properly, for your banking system to be broken, and you paying all kind of fees and stuff to the banks, etc., you vote for them, man. If you want to keep up in conversations about they gonna pave road and these promises, vote for them. If you want no proper working electricity, if you want to keep paid a lot of money for electricity because they own Focal, and you could have had solar, then listen, vote for them. But every problem that we have in this country is because those politicians and the oligarchs benefit from it. Your electricity is high because they make money by selling the fuel to BPL. No other reason. It's not a long story. It's simple as that. But you shaking your pom-pom. You're getting bad electricity because they keep buying the generators that's run down. You know why? Because they make money selling the parts. They get the contract to sell the parts to BPL. So they need bad generators there. This country is broken. You know why you don't have a hospital? Because they make money from you coming to them for private services. Do you know why those bodies were in a trailer after Dorian? It's because they were stolen because their oligarchs owned the insurance companies. They didn't want to pay. All right? Everything that hurts the Bahamian people benefits them. Do you know why you couldn't get your building supplies that was donated? They had enough building supplies to rebuild the whole Bahamas. They hid them. You know why? Because the oligarchs are in the building supply business. And they felt if they gave it to you free, they wouldn't make money. So Ingram and Pintard and them hid the building supplies. Everything that hurts us is what is benefiting them. And they're doing this to us, and we just shaking pom-poms to them while our children suffers. We got to fix this country. So if you want to continue to suffer, just vote for them. That's a simple choice. If you want to try a new direction, then vote for something different.
Well, Mr. Bain, we want to say it was indeed a pleasure this afternoon having this conversation with you and on Let's Talk. And in the future, you'll be seeing this show up somewhere. But my thing I want to ask of you, do you believe in public debate? Or are you open to public debate between the leaders and candidates and all this other stuff? And I call them blind debates, because a lot of times persons want they want to know the questions, because I need to practice, or I don't want to answer that question. Would you support a move of our debates?
I don't see how you can have a government without debates. Every other country has debates except the Bahamas. And that's because they don't feel they should be answerable to you. They shouldn't have to ask no question. If you want a job, you got to go on an interview. And so we believe that you should come forward and be grilled.
Okay.
And we believe that if 3 of y'all want a job, you want 3 of y'all stand up here, and we can grill all 3 of y'all. All right? And so we need to know what your plans are. We need to know what you want to do for this country. We need to know that that is in you, that you really believe this. Anyone can pick up a piece of paper and read a speech. Anyone can do that. We need people who know this by heart, and we need to look you in your eyes and see that you are serious about this country. I demand that we have a debate. I demand that. In fact, I don't think those other 2 guys are confident in doing a debate, so I'll say this now. I will be willing to participate in a debate where they get the questions ahead of time and I don't. They can give them the answers too.
Give that confidence, Mr.
They
Bain.
can give them the answers. All right? Give them the answers, and they can bring their paper with them and read off the paper. All right? Bring them. Let them come. Give them the answers ahead of time. Let them practice. Let them research, Google, do whatever they want to do. Let them know what's coming, and don't tell me nothing. I'll just show up.
What's your final word for the Bahamian people?
My final word for the Bahamian people is that it's time for Bahamians to be empowered. It's time for Bahamians to be put first in this country. It's time. It's time for us to have a country that our children can come back home to. We have a country where our children are being banished because they're being told they're overqualified. You told us to educate our children. But now that they're educated, they come home, you say, okay, you're overqualified, get out of this country. And so our children are being pushed out of the country they love, and they're billing other countries, and now unqualified, unskilled labor is coming and replacing them. And they're soon going to be the voting bloc, and we're going to be outnumbered because majority rules. And the Bahamas won't be the Bahamas that we know. But if you fail as a man to build a house for your children, you failed. We are failing to build a country that our children can come home to and build a better life in, and that is tragic. And so it's time for the new Bahamas. It's time for the next Bahamas, where we can live our dreams and have ideas and empower Bahamians and push them to be owners.
We want to say thank you, Mr. Bain, for taking time out of your busy schedule today to spend some time with us and letting the Bahamian people know exactly what the COI is about. And we will be back to have another conversation with some other persons in your cohorts of candidates. And so we want to say thank you again, and thank you for entertaining us on Let's Talk.
Thank you for having me, man.
We've asked the questions. The answers are yours to weigh. In this moment and every moment after, remember, democracy only works when the people demand more than talk. Powered by NuVision Media, this has been Face to Face, where the truth doesn't hide, and neither should you. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay bold.